So we are starting the class, and the name of our course is Mechanical Measurement and Control. Okay, so just let me know if in between more students are joining and we need another room, we can do that. So in this course, we are going to be mostly talking about various instruments which are used for measurement. Uh, Mostly that part would be done by you guys. I'll be talking about errors, how to measure the errors, and what different type of errors are there in the measurement. Uh, Transducers and condition monitoring equipments, and some aspects of control in production. So these are the things which we are going to talk about in this course subsequently. Now let's come to basic point that look at the things around you. Is it possible to have those things if the measurement systems are not there or the ways of doing measurement are not available? Look around you. You have since you are in hostel right now, most of you. You got laptop, you got phone. So without measurement, is it possible to have all this, or can we even visualize the kind of civilization that we are living in without the presence of mechanical measurement or even the measurement instruments? Well, I
No,
don't
sir.
think, yeah, uh, not at all, because our modern life is largely governed by measurement. And the industrial revolution, which happened because, especially I'm talking about the second industrial revolution, which was uh, which was initiated by Ford, actually totally lies on the ways in which the measurement system evolved, and they were able to move from regular craftsmanship, crafts made cars to mass produced cars. Okay, so the concept of measurements which were introduced in second industrial revolution um, made the changes, brought the changes in the lives of people which we see now, and the life as you see now. So what is measurement is a very broad term. What fields does it encompass, or are there any fields left anymore in this world where we can we can live without doing measurement? If you look at the chef's kitchen, there are measurement items. You look at the communications, you look at energy, you look at medical sciences, food sciences, environment, trade, transportation. So we always talk about measurement in everything. We talk, even students' performance is concerned. We talk about CGPA, which is also a measurement instrument only in a way, but in a soft form. So our life as we know it cannot be like this if the instrumentation and the measurement systems are not in place. Measurement systems specifically does not mean that they it has to be a physical instrument. It could be a soft form of instrument, like as I've told you, CGPA is one form of an instrument only of measuring the student's performance. Can you guys give more examples where the measurement systems are not in the hard form? Like for hard forms, we can give many examples. Like scale is there, and then your measuring tape is there. Then you have vernier caliper, screw gauge, and whatnot. Hmm. But just like the example which I've given you, CGPA, can you give any more such examples where these are the measurement systems, but we don't physically own them, or they are not tangible?
So banks use CIBIL score. There is an index.
Yeah, very right. CIBIL score, where they check the credit rating of a user. Now you can name many. He's already given you a hint. We have Sensex, but Sensex, what does Sensex measure? I mean, it's a different thing. All internet speed. Ananya says very right. Anyone else?
Cricket scorecard.
Yeah, of course, you are measuring the number of runs the person has made. Yeah. So now I think the concept is clear that it is not
GDP,
limited. Yeah, 3D what? Age.
GDP.
Yeah, GDP. I mean, now you can have countless things, right? So we can move from this one and we can say that, okay, measurement system is not only related with the physical instruments, but it is also about non-tangible things. Okay, so metrology is another word. Metrology is another word where we say it is concerned with the study of measurements, where largely you will be this part of metrology, you will be doing a lot of that in the lab. Our lab is more oriented towards metrology rather than measurement systems. Then how do you define measurement? Can we define measurement? All of you give your own way of definition or defining measurement.
Comparison with a standard unit.
Comparison with the standard unit. Okay. And if it's not possible to measure without standards, Devshri?
Shall we need to have some criteria that this can be the maximum thing or and this is being attained? Like
Yeah, yeah. I mean, in a way, you mean to say that there has to be an absolute. Then only measurement can be done.
so we can measure, but that measurement won't have any significance if we won't have anything like assigned to it for comparison.
Okay, I think it is debatable what you are saying, and I think just think about it. Can you find things where uh, you don't have an absolute?
Sir, if we want to measure the difference,
Yeah,
like in the
exactly,
time gauge meter, we use the difference. So there, it is
exactly.
not it is not
So
necessary
relative.
for
So
absolute.
wherever, so there could be two forms of measurement. One is absolute measurement. Other could be relative measurement also, where the zero is not there in the scale at all. So that is also possible. Yeah. So anyway, but that's not the point of discussion right now. We are just trying to define measurement. So I'm sure that all of you can have your own, give their own definition of measurement. Book says that measurement is an act of assigning an accurate and precise value to a physical variable. Specifically talking about this subject, we are concerned with physical quantities. So we can say that it is an act of assigning an accurate and precise value to a physical variable. Now there's a term accurate and precise which is coming over here. These are the two different terms which have been used. Is there a difference between the two? And if that's a difference, what could be that? Is there a difference between accuracy and precision?
Sir, accuracy is how close the value is to the real actual value, and
Okay.
precision is to what decimal places you can measure a quantity. Like for like distance can be measured to how many digits of significant digits you can measure distance. Like that
Yeah,
the higher it is, the higher the precision.
good example, Syed. Anyone else?
Basically, accuracy is to how close your measurement is to the actual measurement, and the preciseness can be considered as that how repeatedly the particular measurement has been occurred.
Okay, so repetitiveness is related with precision. You can say that. Now, let's try to understand this for the people who have not understood it yet. Let's say all of you know dartboard. You have seen dartboard, mm, in which darts are there and you have to hit the bullseye. So let's consider this is the bullseye and you are throwing darts. Now, your score would be maximum like 5 darts you are throwing, and all the 5 darts are in this circle. So it's like you're trying to measure something, and all the points are measuring exactly what you are intending to measure. Like a 5 centimeter line is there, and you got 5 different scales. So you are using those 5 scales to. So if all these 5 scales indicate that the length of the line is 5 centimeter, then you are happy. So this is accurate. And if all these points are very close to each other, we say accurate and precise. While on the other hand, if all the points are located at some other place but are very close, then we say it is precise but not accurate, because not accurate because they are not in the bullseye. Getting it? So this represents total accuracy and precision. This represents only precision. Okay. Then I have another dart and I throw it and it hits over here. We say it is accurate, but we can say precise only if we do multiple throws and they are also landing close to it. If they are not landing close to it, but they are landing somewhere here like this, so we say accurate but not precise. So these are the main issues, central issues in measurement. That out of 10 values, how many values are showing you what they should show, and how many values are close? Means, let's say you are using a vernier caliper, and there is some sort of play in the instrument such that it gives you reading 1 centimeter more than what it should. और weighing scale जिसमें आप अपना वजन लेते हैं, weighing scale, like I have a weighing scale which gives 2 kgs lesser than what you actually are. So it will always, to the best of it, you maintain it very nicely and do everything good, you would still weigh what 2 kg lesser. That means it may be very much precise, but it is not accurate. Okay, so that's how we progress our discussion on the same. So you can always talk about accuracy and precision, and we will be doing dedicated discussion on accuracy and precision in the measurement system analysis as we go ahead. So meaningful measurements require common measurements and standards and must be performed using them. So standard measurements are very much important. Some of the measurement instruments I would like to show you. So I'm just going to play a few videos so that you may get some idea about the other type of measurement instruments which are available. Okay, so measuring equipments, I'm going to play some videos on the depth gauge. How many of you know depth gauge? Just raise hands. How many of you know what is a depth gauge? Some of the instruments are actually not there in our lab, but they are important, and it would be nice if we know few of them, not all. Sort of a depth gauge, this one. So it is a very primitive form of depth gauge you would see now. So there's internal, for internal holes, you can use a depth gauge. So there, the person is making this particular profile over here, and outside dimensions could be measured, but for inside dimensions you need this kind of depth gauge. This is coming on. Just a second. Now this length, which he's been using this length because probably he's making these kind of parts in larger volumes, maybe in hundreds or thousands. So he's found out this length will be measured often. So without actually doing the measurement, it is called a gauge. So what is a gauge? Anyone?
It's referred to standards.
Yeah. So this is a depth gauge. Why they are calling it as a gauge? Because the length of the metal part is already fixed, and we are not going to measure the length of the part which is being manufactured again and again. You can quickly check whether it is equal, that particular length is equal, or it can be also be used for marking, like this guy is doing it for marking. So these are called gauges. Right now what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to make you accustomed with certain terminologies which we'll be using in the course, like gauges. Okay, so without actually doing measurement, you can do inspection. So there are two terms, measurement and inspection. Can you tell me what's the difference between measurement and inspection? Anyone? Measurement and inspection. What's the difference between the two? Don't Google it. Just think. Yeah.
By looking at something, just we can know how much is the depth of something, or that's inspection. And using a tool to measure is measurement.
Yeah. So if you're trying to quantify the physical entity like weight, length, if you are trying to put a number with that, that you may call that as a measurement. While if you are trying to find out whether the given physical dimension or to what degree the physical dimension satisfies the standard, okay, or conforms to the standard, then we do inspection. Okay, so it may be in yes and no also. Inspection may be in yes and no. While when you are doing measurement, you actually will have to assign a number when you are doing a measurement. So inspection encompasses several things. So I'm using this one for the first time. Let's see. So what are the components or the characteristics of inspection? So the characteristics of inspection basically are that it first, the objective of inspection that is to conform to the established or desired standard. Conform to the desired standard. Second one would be to accomplish interchangeability of manufacturer. This is an important term, interchangeability.
So can you repeat the first point?
Yeah, conform to the desired standards. So the objective of inspection is to conform to the desired standards. Like in the previous video which I've shown you, that guy was actually without doing measurement was marking on something. That means the standard length was already established, and he wants to confirm that part being manufactured to that standard. The second one is interchangeability. Interchangeability of manufacture. Let me explain you the term interchangeability. As I've told you that Ford was a pioneer in bringing the industrial revolution to, that is mechanization. So why they were able to produce so many cars at a very less cost was because of the concept of interchangeability. It basically means that you can produce parts in certain range, and in that range you can fit that part anywhere. Like for example, the cars which you have, or even the cycle which you people are having. Let's say you have to replace the tire of your cycle. Do you have to go to the manufacturer of the cycle and ask him to make a tire for your cycle? Yes or no?
No.
No. Okay, you don't have to do that. You can just go and purchase a tire of certain inches, let's say 25 inches tire, or whatever the size of the tire may be. You just go and tell him that I want a tire. He'll ask you how many inches, and then he'll give you. Okay. Now, if let's say it is 35 inches, if it's a 35 inches tire, does that mean it will be exactly 35 inches? Yeah.
No, sir.
It's just not possible to have produced a tire of 35 inches exactly. It may be 35 inches, some centimeters associated with that. If you actually measure it. And if he's got 100 tires, I can bet those 100 tires will be very much different from each other. Let's say if we are not assigning decimal places to, let's say up to 10 decimal places if we go, it is just not possible those 100 tires will be of exactly same dimension, or even 2 tires in that will be of same dimension. So it's just not possible to exactly replicate the same measurement again and again. Even if I ask you to make a line of 5 centimeter and I say up to 10 decimal places, none of you will be able to make that. So the thing is, this is the concept of interchangeability that the manufacturers of the mass produced items practice. What they do is they produce in certain range. They manufacture. There's a permissible range tolerance associated with that. That we are going to do after this chapter. Maybe we are going to start with that only. In the next chapter is that only. So limit, fits, and tolerances is that what you call it. So interchangeability is a very interesting concept. Now take another example. All of you know Reynolds 045 pen, blue cap. How many of you know about that pen?
Yes,
Say
sir.
yes. Say
Yes,
yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Right, yes. Let me see how many of you are actually listening. Right, yes. If you know about Renault 045. And if you say no, then of course you can say no that I don't know about it. Okay, good. So I see you people are attentive and you are there present in the class. That's good enough. Now you don't, okay, good. So now, yeah. So this Renault 045, if let's say I ask all of you, all the class, there are around how many? 93 odd people are there in the class right now. So if all of you, all of 93 people are sitting in a class, and all of you are having this Renault 045 pen with you, and let's say we disassemble it, totally disassemble it. Some of you don't know. You can say it's a very standard pen of blue color, which is I think to to a certain degree it was most popular, at least when we were in college. Everyone was having that only. So yeah. So every one of you is having the same pen. Now let's say we disassemble it and put it in bags. How many parts does this pen have? Pen has how many parts are there?
Sir, four
Four
parts.
parts, right? One refill, white body, and front body, that is the transparent one, blue one, and the cap. Okay, so now I put them in four different bags. All the refills in one, all the white ones in one, and all the pen caps in one, and all these things in four different bags. Now each one of you are going to come and pick a refill and a body and the front body and the cap, and you will be able to get a pen right back again. Yes or no? Every one of you 90, you'll be able to get those 94 pens again, every one of you, but you did not mark it. How did that happen? How are you able to do that? And why are you able to do that? Puneet is saying standard size. So what does standard mean over here? Standard means Chirag is saying we are good engineers. सबका size shape same है. इसमें एक सिमिलर है और एक आइडेंटिकल है, दो वर्ड यूज करेंगे. शिवांश नोज दैट हम इंटरचेंजेबिलिटी की बात कर ही रहे हैं, तो ये इंटरचेंजेबिलिटी ही है. गुड शिवांश, गुड ऑब्जर्वेशन. सो same, they are of similar size and shape. That's why we are able to assemble them, and they have been manufactured using some standards. Okay, and that standards comply to interchangeability. तो बात ये है कि इंटरचेंजेबिलिटी कॉन्सेप्ट की वजह से ही आज आप मास प्रोड्यूस कर पाते हैं. मास प्रोड्यूस कर पाते हैं इसीलिए हमारे पास काफी सारी जो चीजें हैं, they are available at a very low cost to us. So all thanks to Ford. Okay, now so this is now what was the use of inspection and interchangeability? Actually, when you are talking about interchangeability, you are mostly talking about mass production. And when you are talking about mass production, we are talking about reducing the time of everything, and then savings, and then eventually making the cheap products, which can be afforded by as many people as possible. So that's why inspection is another way of conforming to the standards without actually doing measurement. That's why interchangeability is a feature of inspection, especially in manufacturing. Otherwise also inspection you do when you're not manufacturing. And why would you do inspection? Is to sustain customer goodwill, you can say that. So ensure quality. It also provides a means of finding out inadequacies in manufacturing. So it highlights the inadequacies in manufacturing at a lesser cost and in lesser time. Uh, then you can have, of course, many other reasons for doing inspection. And yeah, accuracy, precision we have already talked about. So let me share a figure with you.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, there is any difference between gauge and inspection?
See, gauge is a component of inspection. Gauge is not same as inspection. Inspection is broader, and gauging is one of the components of inspection. Okay, so this figure, what you see over here on the screen right now, is indicating few things like this first figure over here, precise but not accurate. We can see here that in order to be accurate, the observations should lie inside the circle, while they are outside the circle, but they are gathered together. So we say they are precise. And then this one is accurate but not precise, which I have already told you that the points are there inside the circle, but they are not close to each other. So they are not precise. And this is accurate and precise. And here you can see the points are strewn around. So they are neither accurate nor precise. Okay. Now there's another term called you can say when I'm using some standards, I'm calibrating. So what is the meaning of calibration? Anyone? Okay, Shailesh is saying here points are referring to a measurement. The points refer to a measurement. Let's say the circle represents 5 centimeter. Okay, or you can say the central point represents 5 centimeter, and the diameter of this circle is 0.01. So 5.01 is the diameter. That means anywhere around 0.01, that means 44.9 will be considered equal to 5, something like this. So you can say 5.01 and the points around 5 centimeter and the points around it. And these are the observations which you have made regarding using another instrument which is not showing the points in the range of plus minus 0.01 or 5. Okay, so I hope it's clear. Shailesh? Yeah. So
Yes, sir.
Chirayu says when precision values are at an offset from the accurate point, we require calibration for the said instrument. Yeah, you are right, Chirayu. Abhinandan is saying calibration is to adjust the device to the condition and errors, if any. Okay. Anyone else who would like to say? Okay, tell me one thing in your day-to-day life. Have you ever done calibration? सबने किया है. I can guarantee every one of you have done the calibration, probably. Make fine measurements. No, not necessarily, Virender. It does not mean making fine measurements. Anyone else?
Basically, for example, if we have a thermometer, then 1 centimeter in the thermometer is 1 degree centigrade, then it's a kind of calibration.
Yeah, good, very good. Anyone else who can come up with some day-to-day life examples for calibration? Watch. Okay, so what type of watch are you talking about? Analog or digital?
So wall clocks.
Okay, yes, we can say any type of watch.
So voltmeters and ammeters,
Huh?
voltmeters and ammeters.
Voltmeters and ammeters, right? Devshri is saying analog. So analog BP measuring device. Now we are starting to take names of devices. Again, let me come to the point again. We are talking about calibration. So Devshri, can you explain what do you mean by analog?
So in analog watches, we are seeing the needles and then we tell the time.
Yeah.
And digital, it's we get the
Yeah,
numbers.
in a way, we have actually converted a physical quantity, time into uh, time into distance in a way, right?
Yes, sir.
And then you calibrate it with respect to what? So you need standards to calibrate. So we calibrate it with respect to the GMT.
Yes,
The
We
sir.
weighing machine. Weighing machine.
weighing machines calibration. Yeah, so let's say I have already given you one example that I have a weighing machine which shows 2 kg lesser than what I actually weigh. So every time I take a weight on it, I'll add 2 units of weight into that. So 2 kg, I'm going to add more. Okay, so that is again called calibration. Or probably you can adjust the scale backwards so that it gives, when it is at 0 position, it gives you -2. Okay, so then also you can say that you have calibrated it. So I think the word calibration is, sweetie, manometer, you're saying manometer. So every instrument requires calibration. Every measurement instrument requires calibration every now and then. So calibration could be static or dynamic. So static when static when you can say, I'll write that. So static calibration, and then you have dynamic calibration. Static calibration and dynamic calibration. So if the values of the variable involved remain constant and they are not time dependent, while calibrating a given instrument, this type of instrument is known as calibration. So see, what happens is, in most of the cases, you would see static calibration. Like I was talking about weight. So when I'm doing calibration of weight, the weight is not changing that time. Okay, while you are doing calibration. Can you give an example where while you are doing calibration, things are going to change? And the value which you are trying to adjust will change with time. Any example? I'll give you an example like you got an alternating current and you are calibrating an ammeter with an alternating current. So that will be a dynamic calibration. Anything else you can say which will be dynamic calibration? Clock, very good, because while you are setting the time is actually changing, right? So right now you just saw, okay, right now the time is this, and my watch will always be 2 minutes behind. So while you are doing this exercise, the time is again changing. Another could be flow meter of a overflowing dam where the flow is changing constantly. If the flow through a flow meter is changing constantly, then we say it is dynamic you'll have to do dynamic calibration for that. Okay, so these are some terms which are associated with measurement. Then now we can talk about errors. We will be talking about errors in detail, but it is good to introduce them right now. So we have basically have two types of errors, that is systematic and controllable, or controllable, or not and. Errors. And then we have second one, which are you can say sort of random errors. Okay. So systematic error is a type of error that deviates by a fixed amount from the true value of measurement. So it deviates by fixed amount. From the true value. Okay. These because you know that it is deviating by fixed amount in whatever direction it is deviating, you can control it. Okay. Can you give examples of systematic error? Like one
Least
example.
count of any device.
Yeah.
Least count of any device.
Least count of any device is a systematic error, because we know that this amount of error will be there, and we add it or subtract it from the measured quantity. Zero error, right? Any other example of systematic error?
Calibration errors.
Yeah, calibration errors, you can say. Any type of calibration error is a systematic error. Or we know that there will be some changes in the, if your outside ambient temperature raises by 1 degree, your measuring your measurement will get moved by this much amount. Or you can say the density of the liquid which you are measuring will change with the ambient conditions. If you know that relationship, the error which is caused will be systematic. Okay. Or some deformation has happened of the workpiece, so that amount of deformation you can always count as a systematic error. So in the systematic error, you can say there could be reading errors, there could be errors due to parallax. They are also systematic errors. All of you know parallax, right? You must have read it in 11th class. So parallax effect, you know. So misalignment, zero errors, all these are your systematic errors. Then you have random errors. They are very much evident everywhere. And these are something which you just can't account for. Let's say the time of the start of the class is 11 o'clock. Okay. And you are a very punctual student, and you always enter the class on time. But will you be able to enter the class exactly at 11 o'clock all the time? That's pretty much not possible. And why it is not possible? Can you tell me? Can you tell me? Every one of you should write. Why will you not consider yourself to be the best student in the whole world? And will you be able to enter the class exactly at 11 o'clock? If you say yes, then write yes. If you say no, not possible to enter exactly at 11 o'clock, why? So, because it's not practical, the factors are not in our control, not possible every day, not possible. External unknown circumstances, no. Everyone says no, but when you're saying no, you should write the reason why no. Okay. Some people are saying connectivity problem. Otherwise, you would be able to enter exactly at 11 o'clock. Some people are saying external factors which can't be attributed to. Human error will always be there, Vakil is saying. Okay. Microseconds time will always be consumed, as we have some time will be spent there. So basically, that's part of the whole universe, the randomness. It's very natural to have that randomness, which you see, which you see but can't account for. This is part and parcel of your whole life, which is governed by entropy, right? So entropy, exactly. Devshri was bang on. So it is the entropy. It is the basic human tendency. Not even human. It is the nature. The leaves fall from the tree, but they don't fall at the same place every time. The raindrops don't fall at the same place every time, even though they are coming from the same place. So the randomness is an inherent feature of the universe, and I pity the people who say that they are perfectionist or they want perfection in their things. It's just not possible. It's not natural. The perfection is not natural. Similarly, random errors are part and parcel of the whole game. They will always be there and you can't account for them. But what you can do is you can work on segregating the systematic errors from the random errors. You can't call everything random. Now, when you are consider yourself to be a normal human being and normal student, when you are entering a class, you can investigate yourself that when you are entering a class, why are you not able to enter at 11 o'clock? At least 90% of you, whether you admit it or not, will be able to tell why you are not able to be on time. So that is segregating the random part from the systematic error from the random error. So we always work on random errors. We try to find out ways of segregating systematic errors from the random errors, and then to a certain point leave the random errors on their own. But that investigation keeps on going. So it's a continuous improvement process of reducing the random errors. So you should not like just say it's just a random error and I can't do much about it in the first go. You will have to investigate it properly. Similarly with the instrumentation also, that if an instrument is giving you erroneous observations, it need not necessarily just be because of the random errors. There might be some errors related to calibration, maintenance, interplay of the mechanical parts in the instrument, variations in the voltage. Many things could be there. So random errors are part and parcel of the game. They will always be there. Random error can't be zero, but it can be reduced. Okay. Yeah. So these are the mostly things, and we'll next class we'll start with the differences between the systematic and the random errors, and we'll go on with the course then. Also, just let me stop the recording first. Yeah.